What's going on, y'all? It's JD Pickell. Today on CFB with JD, the People's Choice Game of the Week. Number 8 Oklahoma comes to Waco to play number 13 Baylor. Welcome into CFB with JD, the People's channel on YouTube for college football content nearly every single day. We're doing a video. It's the People's channel. We are true to that. One of the most prime examples of us being true to that is the People's Choice Game of the Week. Every single week, there's a poll on my Twitter that will give you a chance to vote for the Game of the Week. This week, 70% of the vote wanted us to break down Oklahoma at Baylor. Okay, and that was the most votes we had ever gotten on a poll. I think it was 108. So one, thank you. And two, let's keep that rolling because the more voices that we are hearing, the better content we can produce and the more accurate we can be with the content that is produced. Armstrong Sims and Jack McKenzie make all that happen, just so you know. Want to make sure I mentioned that. So, to the game itself, number 8, Oklahoma at number 13, Baylor. The line is Oklahoma minus 5.5. For Oklahoma, it's the tale of two seasons, really. You have Spencer Rattler era, and you have Caleb Williams era. Spencer Rattler era, find ways to win. The team has been gritty, credit to them. Could have dropped a game, truthfully, multiple times, whether it was Tulane, whether it was West Virginia. Kept finding ways to win. Texas game, tides turned. Caleb Williams comes in and just puts on the Superman cape and shows you he is the quarterback of the future, the quarterback of right now, as a matter of fact. Probably the face of college football going forward. Don't think that's a stretch. The offense looks brand new under him. He's thrown 14 touchdowns, 1 interception. The playmakers, I've said it before, the playmakers on this Oklahoma offense have just come alive with him at quarterback. You hear guys like Hazelwood's name mentioned a lot more often. He gets more of the football. Mims gets more of the football, and they're getting it in position to make plays. Mims' yards per catch is way, way up. I believe he's over 20 right now with Caleb Williams at quarterback. He was sub 17 prior to that. So, bottom line, ball is getting the playmakers. Also, the run game is opening up quite a bit. On the defensive side of things, statistically, Oklahoma is not bad, but they're streaky. You have games like West Virginia where the defense basically wins the game for you, only allows 13 points. Then you have games like Texas where you get into a shootout and you allow 48 points. I understand those are two very different offenses, but I need more consistency from the Oklahoma defense. They will have their work cut out for them in this game. For Baylor, they're coming off a 28-30 loss to TCU. I mean, wounded animal mode at its finest, giving up 22 points a game on defense. You need to clean up that secondary because if they don't, this Oklahoma offense is going to take full advantage of it. I just mentioned all the playmakers they had a minute ago. It's like the Monstars over there. Baylor gave up 468 yards to a backup quarterback a week ago against TCU. So that's going to be something to watch. What's the matchup there between Baylor's secondary? How do they choose to address all the different ballers that Oklahoma has on the outside? Abram Smith's over 1,000 yards in the season, 7 yards a carry. The run game is the focal point of this offense. 60% of the time, all their play calls, 60% of those are going to be running the football. Like I mentioned, over 200 yards a game, over 5 yards a carry. They're elite at that. They make no bones about what they want to do offensively. So the keys to this game, I mentioned Baylor's secondary. They have been suspect as of late. I don't believe the entire unit is suspect. I believe they have holes on the outside, especially in matchups where they get taller receivers like a Hazelwood. They have issues addressing that. We're going to see how Baylor tries to adapt to that because I don't think Baylor's going to be tone deaf to continue to hit their head against the wall. They've been one of the best teams in the country making adaptations during the year. So I think they'll clean that up, but that's something I want to keep an eye on. Even more so when Caleb Williams breaks contain, when the play breaks down, when Oklahoma goes off script, all heck break loose. What does the Baylor secondary do? Because we saw a week ago against TCU, Chandler Morris had a career day. And his dual threat ability, whenever he got out of contain, out of the pocket, I mean, he gave Baylor fits. And Baylor looked very much off of kilter. They looked off balance. They weren't able to play within their own comfort zone and play well, if that makes sense. That feels like a very obvious thing to say, that they weren't able to play well when they got off script, but they have to be able to play discipline because Oklahoma is going to challenge that in every facet. And Caleb Williams is at his best when he breaks contain. You remember the play where he got out of the pocket against Texas, throws it 55 yards on the run on a dime to Marvin Mims, and the DB doesn't even know what hit him. That can't be the case for Baylor. They have to find a way to address that, have a way to adjust that, and ultimately get home on Caleb Williams. That's going to be a big, big thing to watch. Caleb Williams breaks contain. What does Baylor do? On the opposite side of that, on offense for Baylor, not so much can they run the football, because they're going to try to run the football. Oklahoma's given up about 118 yards on the ground this year. That's top 20 in the country. They're pretty stingy up front. They're streaky, but they're pretty stingy statistically. Can Baylor set up play action? Not can you have success on the ground, but can you have enough success on the ground to set up play action? Because that's where Baylor's going to be able to keep pace with Oklahoma. We saw I guess it was 3 weeks ago, Oklahoma goes to Lawrence, Kansas, and Kansas isn't making any crazy explosive plays, but they're continuing to run the RPO stuff. They're able to get a couple yards on the ground here, a couple yards of ground there, a quarterback read option here, get around the outside. It just kept the Oklahoma defense off base enough to where when they went RPO, when they went play action, they had success with it. And that is to a T what Baylor wants to do. If you're Baylor, I'm watching the Kansas film night and day. I'm like Netflix binge watching the Kansas film because Kansas laid the blueprint as to how to beat this Oklahoma defense. Now, the difference for Baylor, they have the better players than Kansas did. They have much more tools. They have many more weapons to try and beat this Oklahoma defense and to capitalize where Kansas, quite frankly, couldn't capitalize. So it's going to be a little bit of a chess game there. My pick in this game, it's been a chaotic year. It's been a chaotic college football landscape to this point. I expect that to continue well into November, all the way into the conference championship games. Oklahoma can lose a game and still make the college football playoff if it's to a ranked team, whether it be Baylor or Oklahoma State. I think Oklahoma drops this game. I don't think that it's going to be by a touchdown. I think it's probably a field goal or within a field goal. It's going to be a barn burner, but I think that Baylor is able to adapt from the week before, is able to stay disciplined. They'll have something cooked up for this all-star Oklahoma receiving corps. Caleb Williams is going to have a really tough scheme presented to him defensively by this Dave Aranda coach defense. They're going to have some things he's never seen before. So the play action game, staying on receivers when it gets off script. I like Baylor. I like Baylor to win the football game. It's a risk. Maybe it's a hot take, but knock on wood, somebody. We're 3-0 picking People's Choice Game of the Weeks. Let's make it 4-0. We're rolling with the Bears to get the upset at home in Waco with big noon kickoff in attendance. That's it for us here at CFB with JD. Subscribe to the channel, a video every single day. We want you alongside us. We want you contributing to the conversation. Tell us what you want to see. The party continues to roll on, and we will see y'all next time.